Welcome ladies and gentlemen to another TFT video, and I thought I would do a meta review or a breakdown of the best comps to play so far in Set 6. It's only been live for 2 days, and so far I've played a decent amount of games. 17 games played on my NA account, Gold 4, and 13 games played on my OCE account, Gold 3, so 30 games in total. Decent amount of games. Also played a bunch of games on the PvE as well, so I think I got a decent idea of the meta so far, and some of the stats have come in. Using Meta TFT, I think is just the best site right now, which also gives you stats. You can sort by average placement, also pick rate, win rate. We're going to focus on average placement, and so I have put together a list, tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3 comps right now, and as you can see at the top of the list in terms of average placement will be for Academy. This is my first tier 1 comp. I think it is the most consistent comp right now, and the stats are not lying. The reason why it's so consistent is because it's so flexible. There is an option to go for either Yone, Fiora or Lux carry, depending on which one you 2-star first and depending on the items you get. If you get a bunch of AP items, you can stack Lux, and if you get a bunch of AD items, you can stack Yone or Fiora, depending on which one you 2-star first. Your primary focus, or the one you want to stack as your primary focus right now, is definitely Yone. Yone seems to be the most consistent, the best cost carry in the game right now, and you mostly want survivability items. Right now I've got Ruden's Hurricane, Titan's Resolve, and GA. Another good one is QSS Quicksilver is another good item. So it's basically survivability items, not straight up tank items. If you got tank items, you want to be stacking Leona. Leona's usually better to stack over Braum, and then of course the other Academy unit is Yuumi, and there's a lot of flexibility with this comp. You can also go up to 6 Academy. You can see I've got the Academy spat on Fiora. If you get an Academy spat, you can just stick it on Fiora. Of course, Yone is hotly contested right now, so you might struggle to get 2-star Yone, and that is why it's still fine to go with this comp, because you can stack Fiora instead or Lux instead. Moving on to the second comp in tier 1, we've got an Urgot / Jinx Carry. Once again, also doing very good on the stats, an average placement of 4.2, and this one has a number of options. Basically, you're looking at Urgot Carry. However, you could switch to Jinx Carry instead if you hit a 2-star Jinx. There's a number of different versions. This is a 5 Kemp Tech version with Lisandra and Victor, but there's a number of different ways you can play. You can play for Bruiser, you know, dropping Ariana and Janna for 2 other Bruisers like Vi, of course. You can put in Vi to give Sister as well and go 4 Bruiser, 5 Camp Tech. You can go 4 Bruiser, 4 Twin Shot. There's a number of different versions. I think this one is the most consistent version with the 5 Camp Tech. Of course, you can drop down to 3 Camp Tech. You know, if you get Yuumi, you can replace Lisandra with Yuumi and Victor with something else. Maybe just a Turret for 3 Enchanter, especially if you're playing against a lot of AP comps like Lux. Moving on, I've got one other comp in the tier 1 slot, and that is Syndicate Assassins. And this has got an average placement of 4.24. So the reason why I have this comp in tier 1 is because, once again, I believe it's super consistent right now. There might be some other comps that are better at getting first place, but I think Syndicate Assassins, in terms of consistency, getting that top 4 is definitely tier 1 status right now. And your primary focus will be on both Shaco and Akali. So you want to get to level 8 and then roll down to try and get 3-star Shaco and get Akali as well. Usually with 3 costs, you want to, reroll at level 7 to get them 3-star. However, with this comp, because it relies or gets spiked a lot with Akali, it's better to go to 8 and then try and 3-star Shaco and play Akali as well. It's not the end of the world if you don't 3-star Shaco, because of course you're duo carrying with Akali and Shaco 2-star I think is still good enough to get a top 4. But if you want to get a first place, you definitely need 3-star Shaco and 2-star Akali. Another great thing about this comp is its versatility, because both Assassin Spat and Syndicate Spat can be made with items, which means this is one of the best comps to go with if you got the Spatula starting carousel, or if you hit a Spatula, this is one of the best or most consistent comps to go with. And you have a number of options as well. You can try and get up to 7 Syndicate if you get the Syndicate Spatula, or if you get an augment that gives you 1 more Syndicate. Another option is cutting down 2 of the assassins and putting in, you know, like Janna and Oriana for enchanters if you're playing against a lot of AP. Now we're going to move on to tier 2, and starting at tier 2 we've got Arcanists. This is a 6 Arcanist build, and you might be wondering, wow, that is a lot of items, I'm never gonna get all those items. No, I'm just showing you the different carries you can use. So with 6 Arcanists, you can either go for 3-star Malzahar as your carry, or you can go for, you know, Lux as your carry, or if you high roll and hit a 2-star Victor, you can go with Victor as your carry. So you're choosing between either 3-star Malzahar, Victor, or Lux as your carry in 6 Arcanists, depending on which one you hit and what items you have. Shojin is definitely needed on Victor. If you don't have Shojin on Victor, it's probably better to go with a different carry. Another thing with this comp is this is almost a guaranteed top 2 if you can get the Runic Shield Augment. The Runic Shield Augment is completely broken. Also with augments and that sort of thing, you can get up to 8 Arcanists, which is ridiculously strong as well. 8 Arcanists is super powerful. You're going to be one-shotting boards very, very quickly. Moving on to the next comp in tier 2 is a Jinx Carry. This is pretty much a straightforward build. I do prefer having the Caitlyn in if you can high roll the Jace to give you Enforcer, because Enforcer can literally win you some games. However, you can play Misfortune over Caitlyn if you don't have the Jace. You can also do a duo carry. So Misfortune right now is actually a pretty underrated unit. You can go for basically a standard build. She's exactly the same as what she was in set 5.5, just different synergies. So you can use the same items like Shojin, JG, Archangels, for example, is very good on Misfortune, and you can play like a duo carry. Jhin is a fairly consistent carry right now, and the best items are definitely Infinity Edge, Last Whisper, and Giant Slayer. You definitely want to be looking for these 3 items. Some other items you can go for are Deathblade and Runan's Hurricane are not too bad, but apart from that, there's not too many other great items on him. Stay away from Gunther's Rageblade. Gunther's Rageblade is very bad on Jhin. And that's pretty much it. You don't really want any other items. Make sure you have these 3 items and then you'll do well. Of course, you can play Jace in the front line and switch the items from Leona to Jace, especially if you get a 2-star Jace. 2-star Jace with these items will be unkillable. But if you just got a 1-star Jace, I think it's fine to just play him in the back line and buff up Jhin. Next up in tier 2, we have got Challengers. So Challengers once again has got Fiora and Yone as a duo carry, but I do think it's slightly less consistent than the Academy version. Of course, with the Challenger version, you really want to try and hit Kai'Sa as a potential carry. 2-star Kai'Sa is what you want to get that first place, but Yone and Fiora will be good enough to get you potentially a top 4 if you can 2-star both of them with as well as a 2-star frontline. Also, this comp has a number of options. You know, if you're not hitting the Kai'Sa, you can cut down the Challengers, lose Clockwork, and put in Yuumi and Tarek for Enchanter and Scholar, especially if you're playing against AP comps. Enchanter will be very strong, 3 Enchanter. But otherwise, once again, it's another versatile comp, and once again, you want to focus on the Bodyguard frontline. I do think the Bodyguard frontline is slightly better than the Bruiser frontline right now, especially against Assassins. You know, if you're playing against Assassins, you can just put one of them in the back with your carry, because Bodyguards have the effect where they taunt the nearest enemy unit, so they will taunt the enemy assassins and keep your carry alive. So I do think Bodyguards are slightly more consistent or better than the Bruisers right now. Next on the list at tier 2, we've got Mutants, with the primary focus being on Malzahar carry. You want a 3-star Malzahar and 3-star Cho'Gath. Now this comp is actually not doing too well on the stats, sitting at an average placement of 4.93. However, I will say that because Mutants get a different trait every game, people will probably hard forcing this comp without caring about what trait it is, and that's probably hurting the stats a little bit. So you only really want to force Malzahar carry or Mutants, specifically when you get one of these mutant traits, which is Voidborn, Synaptic, Metamorphosis, and Ferocious Appetite. One of those 4 traits you can definitely play Malzahar carry. So like I said, you're looking to 3-star Malzahar and 3-star Cho'Gath. Now instead of Cyan, you don't have to play Cyan. You can maybe take out Cyan and play like 4 Bruisers with Zac and maybe where's Tom Kench, or maybe you can play you can put in Victor for Chemtech, give you 3 Chemtech. You can also still get 4 Bruisers. Maybe you've got like the Bruiser emblem you've got from one of your augments or a Tome of Traits or something like that. So you definitely have a number of options. You don't have to play the Scion. You can also, of course, replace Scion with Galio if you're high roller, 2-star Galio, that sort of thing, and also gives you the Socialite Hex. Depending on where the Socialite Hex, you might want that. So you do have a number of options, but this is kind of like a standard build. Also, instead of Kog'Maw, you could play just the Kassadin for the Protector buff if you are playing Scion. But I do think Kog'Maw is still a little bit better. You know, Kassadin's not going to be doing much later into the game. And then the final comp at tier 2. Now this one I was thinking of putting it at tier 3. However, on the stats, it's doing ridiculously well. An average placement of 4.02, which is one of the highest in the game. We can actually have a look. Where is it? It's sitting at number 4. It does have a very low play rate, but it's sitting at number 4 in terms of average placement right now. I didn't expect it to be so good. Cyan was very good on the PvE, but he did get nerfed right at the end, and he does feel a lot weaker. But statistically, it seems like he's still doing very well. I have played one Cyan game so far, and I think I did get a top 3. And generally with Cyan, you're just playing Imperials with all the Socialites. And this build definitely depends a lot on where the Socialite Hex is. So like if it's in the back corner, on the left or on the right, you probably don't want to be playing Cyan, or at least you don't want to be playing the Socialites. You can maybe put in some other units instead, but Cyan definitely needs, I think, 3 Socialite to do well. So it depends a lot on where the Socialite Hex is. If it's in the second row somewhere, it's not too bad. The first row is not too bad either. The third row, you can get away with the third row. The fourth row is where it gets a little bit tricky, especially if it's in the corner. Even in the third row, if it's in the corner, it might just be an awkward spot. So that rounds up my tier 2 comps. Now we're going to move on to tier 3, and you'll find that most of the tier 3 comps are going to be reroll comps. I don't think reroll's as good right now, and I think reroll can still do well, but it relies a lot on getting good reroll augments. So first of all, we've got Academy reroll. So the main units that you want to focus to reroll are the first 6 right here. You want to get 3-star Garen, look for 3-star Katarina, as well as 3-star Kassadin, 3-star Graves. You're looking to 3-star all these units. The main ones you want to focus on are definitely Garen, and if you're carrying Katarina as your side carry, you definitely want a 3-star Katarina as well. And then later on into the game, you can look to tech in 6 Academy, and you got the 3 Protector as well. And so this is just a standard Academy reroll comp. This used to be very broken on the PvE, but they did eventually nerf Garen. Garen was definitely an overpowered reroll unit once you hit him 3-star. And you want to definitely get to the 2 most important items to get on Garen are definitely Warmogs and Bloodthirster, then finally a Titan's Resolve. You can also play an Infinity Edge if you just want to do more damage or have more of a carry build, but Titan's Resolve is slightly better than Infinity Edge, I think. And this comp is definitely good enough. If you're able to 3-star all the units quick enough, it's definitely good enough to give you a top 4. It might fall off at the very end You could probably get a top 2, but getting a first place can be very difficult unless you can, you can transition into a different carry late into the game, like a 5 cost. Moving on to the second comp, we've got Innovators. Now this version has got Jhin as a carry, but you can also go for Seraphine as a carry. Seraphine is actually an underrated carry right now, and she does very well with Innovators. Now 5 Innovators is okay, like the stats say it does okay, but if you can get to 7 Innovator, the stats are actually, there's a big difference. If I can actually have a look, this is here. You can see average placement of, if you're able to hit 7 Innovator and along with the Jinx Carry, is 2.06. That is one of the highest, if I remember or recall correctly. It's the highest on the list. So if you can get to 7 Innovator and go for a Jinx Carry, you're almost guaranteed a top 2. I think there's another version. So this is the Seraphine version. It's not as great. It's only an average placement of 3.3. And once again, Caitlyn with Jace gives you Enforcer. And this comp does rely on hitting Jace as your front line. If you're stuck with Singed as your tank in the front line, it will struggle a bit. Of course, once you hit 5 Innovator, you do get the bear. The bear as that beefs up your front line, but of course you definitely want to be hitting Jace. 2-star Jace would be ideal. 1-star Jace can probably carry you to a top 4, but you definitely want 2-star Jace if you're looking for that first place. Next on the list, we've got Reroll Gangplank. You're looking to roll for Gangplank 3-star on level 7 and level 8. And of course, if you're not hitting Gangplank, you can easily just sell Gangplank and switch over to either Urgot or Jinx Carry. This comp is actually doing insanely well on the stats. I only got it at tier 3 because the stats might be skewed a little bit, because it also includes Urgot and Jinx, and people might be switching from Gangplank to Urgot and Jinx Carry instead. Basically, you're looking to 3-star Gangplank, and 4 Twin Shot is definitely needed on Gangplank. I think it's not needed as much on Urgot and Jinx, but if you want to play Gangplank as your carry, 4 Twin Shot is a lot better, and the standard build is just the 4 Bruiser with the 4 Twin Shot. Moving on, we've got Reroll Kog'Maw. This is a Protector Kog'Maw build, so you're looking to reroll these 5 right here. So you're looking to reroll Kassadin, Garen, Graves, Kog'Maw, and Blitzcrank, trying to 3-star as many of these units as well. You definitely want to focus on Kog'Maw and Garen and Kassadin as your 3-star units. And once you 3-star these units, you can push levels to go to level 8, and you usually add in Mutant to try and get in 5 Mutant. Moving on to the list, we have got Reroll Trundle and Vi. 6 Bruisers. 6 Bruisers, and then right at the end, you're looking to add in Jinx and Urgot. Jinx there to give Vi the sister buff, and that makes Vi do a lot of damage, especially if you've got 3-star Vi. So you're looking to 3-star both Vi and Trundle, so you're rolling at level 6. By the way, on the previous one, this one you want to roll at level 5, because you're looking to 3-star Garen and Kassadin, and then you roll at level 5, then you go level 6, and then you roll at level 6. You're just rolling down to 50 gold kind of each turn. Unless you're about to die, then you have to go all in. But you're just rolling down to 50 gold, and you're looking to 3-star these at level 5, and then 3-star Kog'Maw at level 6. Anyway, back to Bruisers. This one you want to roll at level 6. Reroll at level 6. Slow roll, should I say. You want to slow roll at level 6 to get Vi and Trundle 3-star. And Trundle, the most important items are definitely BT, followed by Runins, and then a Titan's Resolve. By the way, blue buff is also not that bad on Trundle. Another option for Trundle is RFC, and then if you get RFC, you can play Trundle a little bit further back. Makes it a little bit more safer for Trundle, so he just doesn't die randomly up front. You want to play Vi next to Trundle, because Vi actually reduces the armor of the units she hits with the spell. As you can see, Vi empowers her next attack to blast through a target, dealing magic damage to all enemies in a cone, and reducing their armor for 8 seconds. So that's why you play Vi next to Trundle, because Trundle is going to be doing a lot of AD damage. And then late game, you're looking to get 6 Bruiser, and if you get augments, you can get 8 Bruiser, which is where this comp really spikes. But once again, this is a comp that relies a lot on augments. If you can get the featherweight augment, also if you can get the augment that can get you up to 8 Bruiser, this comp can be very powerful. But you have to hit 3-star Vi and Trundle. Otherwise, it could end up going pretty bad. Moving on, we've got a Lisandra reroll comp. This is a 4 Scholar. Looking to hit 4 Scholar with Lisandra, and then you just got the Bruiser frontline to give you Chem Tech. And these are the best items on Lisandra, Morello, GA, and Jeweled Gauntlet, in my opinion. I think Morello and GA are very important. Then the last item is a little bit flex, but I like JG, Jeweled Gauntlet. Now this comp used to be completely broken on the PBE, but Lisandra got nerfed right at the end, so it's not as good right now, but it's probably still good enough if you get Lisandra 3-star to give you a top 4. And it actually doesn't show up on the stats right now. I think this comp is probably underplayed a lot. It might be doing very well, so it doesn't show up on meta TFT any Lisandra carry games. So maybe this is a comp that you guys got to try out. It was very powerful on the PBE, but of course it got nerfed right at the end, and I haven't tried it out after the nerf, so maybe the nerfs were a bit too harsh and killed it off. But I have still seen it on the live servers do well, so I've still got Lisandra at tier 3. Next, we've got Tristana carry, 3-star reroll Tristana carry. And this is not a full Yordle comp. You're just looking to 3-star both Tristana, Lulu, and Poppy. Now Ziggs, you actually 3-star, but you leave Ziggs on the bench. This is a tactic found out by one of the high-ranked players. I think his name is Socks, where you just 3-star Ziggs, but you leave him on the bench. You might play him if he's, if you've got no other unit to play right now, and obviously you've got a 3-star Ziggs, it's going to be helping you out in the early game, but eventually you just put him on the bench. And the reason you do this is because it will help you find Tristana and Lulu a lot quicker, because from the Yordle trait, you won't be popping out Ziggs. You'll be popping out Tristanas or Lulus to help 3-star these two. And then late into the game, once you've 3-starred Tristana, Lulu, Poppy, and Ziggs, you start popping out Vexes and Heimers, which you can just solve for 3 gold every turn, which is a lot of gold. But late into the game, once you hit level 8, basically once you hit 3-star Tristana, Lulu, and Poppy, you push to level 8, and you're putting in Jin, you're putting in Braum, you're putting in Janna, you're putting in Yumi, you're putting in Orianna, and this comp can become very powerful. But once again, relies on augments, especially if you can get the featherweight augment as well as the Yordle augment. I think it's called So Small, where Yordles dodge like 35% of the time. If you can get those 2 augments, this is a very good comp to go with, and then you end up with a Tristana Jin duo carry comp at the end. Next at tier 3 is just going to be straight up Yordles. So this is going to be the 6 Yordle comp. I didn't think this comp was very good, but I have seen it do decently well so far, especially if you've got an insanely good Yordle opener. You've got Yordles at 2-1, and let's say maybe you've got already a 2-star Poppy and a 2-star Ziggs. You can just hard force 6 Yordles. I think you definitely need the So Small augment, where it gives you increased dodge chance. If you can get that, you definitely want to play it. As you can see, this is 7 units, and the 8th unit that you put in will be Vigar. Moving on, the final comp in tier 3 is Reroll Samira. This one it hasn't really been tested out that well, and it's actually doing the worst of every single comp right now. In terms of the stats, an average placement of 5.03. We can actually go down to the very bottom. You can see Samira 3-star 5.03, not doing too well. However, I do think Samira has a lot of potential, so I've decided to include it in tier 3, and I have seen it do decently well. I don't think I've ever seen it win though. I think you can definitely get a top 4 with Samira but top 1, maybe it's not good enough. And I think people haven't optimized the version, so this is just a 4 challenger version, but maybe it's better to drop down to 2 challenger. You know, you don't play Yone and Quinn. And you play, you know, some more utility units or maybe some assassins. So you can see if maybe this comp is only good if you're able to get the assassin spat on Samira. I think if you can get the assassin spat on Samira with Talon, you can go with a duo carry and play like Talon carry with Samira. Talon does well with Rage Blade. Items such as these, Rage Blade, RFC, and Infinity Edge. It also does well with a Death Cap. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the video. That is all the meta comps right now. I will put all the comps in the description with links as well to this page if you want to check out this page with all the items. And I try to do the positioning as best I can, but it's just a general positioning guide. You know, obviously you want to position based on your opponents and where they are, but this is just a general positioning guide right now. And yeah, I've put all the links in the description and you can go check them out. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, have a nice day.